everybody, this is Jesse from NAPCO Tech Support. And in this video, we're going to go over how to update the uniVerse single door controller CICP2100 or CICP2100S to work on MVP cloud access. The first step is going to be checking the NLM firmware and updating it if necessary. To download the uniVerse Finder, we are going to go to the NAPCO Technical Library, and then we are going to go to Software Downloads. We can either pick Alarm Lock or NAPCO Access Pro. Filter by product type, pick MVP Access, click on the uniVerse Finder and download. It's going to download into a zip file in your Downloads folder. You're going to need to right-click and pick Extract All. Next, click on the uniVerse Finder EXE, right-click and run as administrator. Next, when we bring up the uniVerse Finder, we'll make sure we're on controllers, click Discover, and it will bring up any controllers that are on the network. As we can see in this controller, it's running version 12.8.2, so this is going to need to be upgraded to work with MVP access. If the NLM firmware on the 2100 is 12.7.8 or later, you can skip this part of the video and proceed to updating to 14.11.6. If the NLM firmware is 12.6.8 or earlier, it will first need to be updated to 12.7.8 using the web browser, the launch web button in the uniVerse Finder, before it can be updated to 14.11.6. If your NLM firmware is 12.6.8, please pause the video here and update it to 12.7.8. We have the 12.7.8 firmware and a video on how to use the web interface to update on the tech library. Once it is updated to 12.7.8, you can then proceed with the rest of the video, updating it to 14.11.6. Highlight the controller we're going to be updating and click on Setup. After it says Reading Configuration and then Received, we're ready to update the controller. We're going to click on Download NLM Firmware, and then it's going to bring us to the firmware folder of the uniVerse Finder, and we're going to select the file for the CICP2100 version 14.6.11. Double click on it, and it will start downloading the firmware. This process could take about 3 to 5 minutes. This is going to be sped up in the video for the demonstration purposes. Once the firmware has been successfully updated, you'll get a pop-up saying that it has been and allow 1 minute for the device to reboot. You can now click OK and close this window of the uniVerse Finder. Then you can click on Discover again, and you will see that the NLM firmware has been updated. Now it's running 14.6.11. This is what's required for the controller to talk to MVP Cloud Access. We're going to need to install jumpers on pins J3 and J5 that are located next to where the Ethernet cable gets plugged into the board. We can refer to the MVP help guide under Continental Controller Getting Started to help us find the location of the pins. We also have a document on the tech library that explains the process and where the pins are. Once the 2 pins have been installed, we're going to need to press the reset button on the controller for 3 to 5 seconds. After a minute, the controller will restart and now be in cloud mode. We can go back to the uniVerse Finder, click on Discover again, and we can now see that this controller is in mode A from legacy and is now ready to be programmed into MVP access. Now we are done with the uniVerse Finder. The controller is showing in mode A. The next step is going to be logging on to MVP access, picking the account we're going to be programming. And then we're going to click on Configuration, COM ports, click on Add. We're going to type the name of the controller COM port along with the MAC address. Once we verify that the MAC address is correct, we're going to click Save and Write Config. Next, we're going to go back to Configuration and then Panels and Locks. Click on Add. Again, type the name of the controller, pick the controller type. For this controller, since it's a uniVerse, we're going to pick uniVerse. Make sure that the lock panel address matches what the dial is on the controller. Every controller is the only one on the COM port, so every address can be set to 1. If you're going to have to change the address on the controller, make sure you press the reset button again for 3 to 5 seconds. Once everything is programmed correctly, we're going to press save, and it's going to ask you how many readers you want to create. You can change the number from 2 to 1 if you're only using one reader on this. Remember, this is a single door controller meant for an in and out. You could always add the other reader later if you needed to. We press OK, and now we can see that the controller has been created and it's in red, meaning that it's not talking yet. We can go to the command status and wait for the controller to start talking. This section is also going to be sped up for the video demonstration purposes. Once the controller starts talking to the MVP cloud server, it will do a firmware download followed by a full data download. This process will probably take about 2 to 3 minutes. After the firmware download ends, the controller will then request a full data download. Once the data download has been complete, the controller is now on the MVP cloud system. You can click on close and then click on panel and locks again. The page will refresh and we can see that the controller went from red to black, and that means that it's talking. We can see that we have one connected controller on the dashboard. To the dashboard, we can see the panel firmware download and data download both completed. Any credentials that were already programmed into the system and set to the all access group will be active. We can now swipe a badge and see a valid access. You can now go to configuration readers and give the reader a unique name of the door that it's controlling and set up any other attributes you may need for that particular reader. A free access schedule, enable the keypad, any other reader configuration, and then hit save. We will have more on programming readers in another video. Now, just to review, we went over how to set up the uniVerse single door controller to work with MVP Cloud Access. As always, for more information, you can visit us on the web at tech.napcosecurity.com. Thank you all for watching.